what we're going to be looking at is improving site safety with eLearning. So what some of our customers are doing is they're using short and frequent courses to improve training outcomes. So they do use the online learning and the eLearning for things like inductions, which can be very, very long courses, or can be relatively long courses. But another way of verifying competencies, another way of verifying competencies is to run short courses where they're just in ongoing bite-sized lessons that don't take a great deal of time, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then they can move back to what they were doing. And these can be then done frequently and redone over periods of time. Okay, so once you've gone through and you've shown them content, and the content might be video, it might be just straight text, or it might be interactive where you're clicking on things and pointing to a diagram, you can then have tailored quizzes created where you can automate the reporting by making sure that they have understood the content. So the quizzes are testing the knowledge. And then by doing that, they're acknowledging that they've understood what's being presented. So myoshLearn is what we'll look at a little bit later on. So once Kim's gone through and explained the course content that is on offer, we'll provide show how this can be, we'll demonstrate it basically end to end. So we'll be able to show right from enrolling someone in on a course to being looking at training requirements, making sure that people know what they need to do, to then seeing how it's completed. So I'll create and complete a short course. So we'll be looking at the advanced compliance and competency reporting. So the training matrix, we'll be able to do it in tandem. So we'll be able to run a course, see how it impacts the training matrix, and see that it shows that there is a verification of competency with that. I'll pass through to Kim. I'll be back at the end of Kim's session or component to then go through the system itself.
Thanks, Adrian. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to have this opportunity to introduce our e-learning solutions, which are designed to help you meet your training needs with minimal setup. It can take a lot of time and expertise to design and deliver online training. And we find that many companies don't have the technology or the skills in-house to develop their own training courses from scratch. But this is where we can help. So Continuum provides ready-to-use e-learning courses that have been designed in collaboration with experts that have more than 20 years WHS experience. And while these courses are ready to use, we also offer the ability to customize and brand them. You can provide us with your company's logos, branding, and any content changes that you require, and we can very quickly generate a fully branded course which looks as though it was created just for your organization. So with this method, you can have several online courses ready to go in a very short setup time. In cases where off-the-shelf courses might not address your needs, we also offer complete custom course creation services where our team of designers will work with you to develop custom courses tailored to your specific learning objectives. So this is great for things like inductions, which are very specific to your organization. And we can take any material you already have, such as PowerPoints, and then we use that to create an interactive course, which can include quizzes and knowledge checks. Our licensing and delivery options are flexible, giving you the freedom to choose how you want to distribute or host the courses. If you are using myoshLearn, when you purchase courses from our catalog, we will add them directly to your course library, which saves you some further time and effort of maintaining the library yourself. And as part of our ongoing support, any content updates to those purchased courses will be automatically applied to your course library. Our courses are also compliant with other LMS platforms, and your employees can enroll and take the course directly from our website as well. We do offer volume discounts if you're purchasing many seats or more than one course. And finally, all our courses are designed to be fully compatible with mobile devices, allowing your workers to access the training from a tablet or a smartphone. So here, I'd like to present an overview of our current course catalogue and the new developments we have in store. We have our comprehensive courses, such as manual handling, Take 5 assessment, and site induction. And in addition to these, we are actively working on expanding our offerings with a suite of micro-learning courses. So these are designed to deliver short bursts of targeted knowledge on topics such as correct use of PPE, fatigue management, working in extreme weather, etc. And we're always keen to hear from our customers about topics they would like to see covered in our courses. So please don't hesitate to reach out and share your training needs with us. New courses and content are generally added monthly, and our team closely monitors changes in WHS regulations to ensure our courses are always aligned with the current guidelines. So our 5 key value points, starting with best-in-class content. Our courses are created in collaboration with safety consultants who are certified auditors. Our course content is reviewed and updated every 6 to 18 months, and new courses are added every month. We have high engagement with our learners by using interactive simulations, real-life scenarios, and quizzes and knowledge checks. Our courses are results-orientated. They're aligned with accreditation bodies, and all the learners do get certificates of completion. We provide friendly support, so we're happily available to chat on email or online meetings, and to offer advice or discuss your training needs and requirements, or offer support about any of our courses. And finally, our personalization, which means we can tailor the course content to your specific needs and brand it for your organization. So I'd now like to run through a few examples of some of the interactive content that we can develop. Our first example here is a task-based training course for scissor lift use. And this example demonstrates the use of hotspots that the learner can click through to learn the operational controls. So in a course like this one, we might cover the learning objectives such as mastering the proper techniques for operating a scissor lift, understanding load capacity and stability, perhaps how to conduct a pre-start inspection, and familiarizing with safety guidelines. And developing this as an e-learning course, as opposed to conventional face-to-face training, means that workers can complete this course at a time most convenient to them, and it makes it easy and cost-effective to train multiple employees at different times. It also ensures that the information provided is consistent, and it can be useful as a refresher in periodic intervals. Have a look at our next example. This is an interactive scenario where the learner can interact with a character on the screen. And we use these to teach things like how to identify hazards or assess risks in lifelike scenarios, and make for a more engaging user experience. This is an example of a knowledge check, which we might have at the end of a specific topic or partway through a course. So knowledge checks do serve as valuable assessment tools to evaluate the learner's understanding and reinforce the key takeaways from the material covered. So we craft these questions to target the core concepts and learning objectives of the course. This particular one is a multi-select question. And other types of questions we can do are multiple choice, true and false, drag and drop, or scenario-based formats. So we've got here an example of a multiple choice quiz question. And if the learner does choose an incorrect answer, then they'll see a message explaining the correct answer and the reasons. Accessibility is key for online training. So all of our courses are designed to be fully compatible with mobile devices, whether that be a smartphone or a tablet or desktop. So that's it from me. Thanks for your attention. I believe Sarah will post the link for registering your interest. And I'll hand over to Adrian again now for the end-to-end demo.
Thank you, Kim. I'll just get you to stop sharing your screen.
Yep.
And yes, Kim, everyone, that link to inquire about Kim's courses is up there in the chat.
Okay.
So Adrian's going to start, show us a good demo of the system working now.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sarah. Thank you, Kim. What I've got is a series of windows open from our system that has been preloaded. If you're producing lots of, content and small short courses, you need to be able to manage those and be able to manage what people have done, what they haven't done, what they still need to do. They need to be able to attend those courses very easily and complete those courses, and you need to have an understanding of whether they've started them, halfway through them, whether they need reminders, all those sorts of things. So first of all, on the screen that we're looking at the moment is you can see a list of competencies, some completed, some open, some overdue for a person. And what I've done is I've actually filtered by Angela in this case. On my next window, I've got the online learning, and I'll run the course from the online learning tab in a short while. We then also have the training matrix, which is going to show how we can see what people have done, what they haven't done, and gain a variety of information. Before I go into the training matrix in any detail, before you build the training matrix, what you do is you need to build a requirements or a needs analysis. So you complete occupation requirements. So you might say that all occupations have to do certain things at different parts of your organisation. You might have specific roles within the organisation that might work at specific sites or parts of your organisation that have to do other things. So as the system identifies what occupations you have, because you might have more than one occupation. You might be a truck driver, and you might also be a fire warden and a safety rep. So by giving people the required occupations and defining your occupation requirements and what it is that they need to do, the system can then figure out how to show this information on a training matrix. So let's jump straight to the training matrix for the moment. The training matrix can give you a great deal of information. So you can filter by person, and I'll do that in a few moments' time. You can filter by occupation. So you can then choose the occupations that you want to see. You can also add extra columns. So you might want to see who they report to. You might want to see what site that they typically reside at. And I'll just close those ones down for the moment. You may also want to look at information in different ways. So you might want to say, I want to filter by competency. So I can do that here. So I might want to look at specific competencies that apply, and then I can choose those competencies as needed. I might want to see all the training records where someone reports to a specific manager. I can do that as well. I can also see things like desirable competencies. So it's showing me ones that are desirable with a different set of symbols. And I can also show all completed competencies. So everything they've done, not just the things that they needed to do or didn't do. Then we've got a series of things like that we can change the display. So we've got things like competency groups. So what you can do is you can group competencies together. So you might have your licenses and your certificates and your online courses separated and then clearly visible there. You can change things like grid lines, but you can also do things like dates. I might want to see when are courses going to expire for individuals. So I can then see the dates in this list, and the dates will change colours if an expiry is imminent. I can also do things like look at expiration into the future. So at the moment, it's going to show me a different colour if it's going to expire within 30 days. But I might want to say, well, I'm interested in seeing what happens in 90 days. So then what this will do is you can see a lot of these went orange. And you can see the legend changed as well. So you can change all of those aspects. Now, one that's really quite cool is your level of compliance that you've got. So I can say, I want to see the compliance for individuals. So I can see that the various different people have different levels of compliance. So Angela Edmondson, she's got 57%, and that's the example I'm going to use today. So we'll keep an eye on that. But I might also want to say, what's the level of compliance? And this is based on what people need to do based on that occupation requirements that we're looking at before. So we can see for the different competencies, what percentage compliance have we got for each of those ones listed? And then we can also look at an overall percentage of compliancy. Now, if I filter, so let's say I bring this down to looking at a particular site, I could choose the site that I wanted to look at, and then this would filter the sites or divisions, departments, whatever it might be. This would then filter it, and then the compliance, overall compliance would relate to the site that we'd filtered by, or whatever the hierarchy level that we'd filtered by. So what I'm going to do here is I'm interested in Angela Edmondson's training records. So I'm going to choose Angela, and it's going to filter out everything that I don't need to see. You can see how fast it is. All the things just increase and decrease on the screen as we want. By the way, if you do get a filter that you want, you can save that filter in the manage views, and then you can give that a name, and you can jump backwards and forwards between the different filters. So in this particular case, one of Angela's training requirements is she needs to do the scissor lift course. So Continuum have uploaded the course that they provided into our platform. And what I'm going to do in a few moments' time is I'm going to go to the online learning module, and I'm going to complete that very, very short course. Then I'm going to go back to my matrix, and I'm going to then, and also to my training records to see what's changed. So remember, there is no scissor lift in here. So this is the list of training records for Angela that we're just looking at in a table. Remember that in the training management, we can see that it's red, meaning that she should have done it, but she hasn't completed it. So I'm now going to go to my online learning component. So I'm logged in as an administrator, so I can see the administration area, and I'm not going to go through all aspects of this, but I'll go through some of the important components. So as an administrator, I can look at various different reports. I can look at the courses that are available, so I can see what's on offer, and these are courses can have pictures and renewal dates and so forth. You needed to do the scissor lift course, for example, you might specify that in the course definition that it has to be renewed in a year's time. So when they complete it, it'll complete it in the system, but it will then also set a renewal date for when they have to do it again, which will then send reminders and emails. Now, a user doesn't necessarily have to come in here to see what courses that they need to do. In many cases, they'll just receive an email link. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to jump into the enrolment section. So in this particular case, we've got a very small amount of data for the online learning. We've got one person who's done a course. I'm going to enroll a person into a course. So in this particular case, I could choose multiple courses, and I can also choose multiple people. So I could have 10 people being enrolled in 5 courses, which would create quite a few enrollments. In this case, I'm going to choose the scissor lift induction course, and I'm going to enroll Angela Edmondson. So this is the end-to-end component. So what it's doing right now when I click on the enroll button is it's now doing a variety of things. First of all, it's creating that enrollment in the back end. Secondly, it's sending Angela an email with a link to the course that she needs to do. Now, she could open that course on her mobile device. She could open that course through the myoshLearn component, and she could do the course in a variety of different ways. Now, the other way you could do the course is you could also have things like QR codes or links that you could just send people through anonymous enrollments. So if I jump into the system now, what you'll see is if I go to here, I'll just refresh this screen for a moment. I've enrolled her in the course. And what it's done is it's created a stub. to basically say she's got to do this course. Hasn't done it yet. There's no dates completed or anything like that. I'm going to now go in and complete the course as Angela. So remember, I'm logged in as Angela. I'm going to jump over to my courses. By enrolling into a course, what it's done is it's created a course here. Now, if I've been enrolled in, say, 5 courses or a large number of courses, I'll have a not started section, I'll have an in progress section, and I'll have a completed section. So I might see a large number of courses that you can either look at it on a grid like what we can see here, or I can look at it in a line-based component if there's large numbers of these things where it's more like a record. If I want to see other training that I should have done or that I've completed, it'll also show in here. So if there's things that I need to be doing or have training records for, they'll also show there too. Now, what I want to do in this particular case is I've gone in here. Again, I could have received a link via an email, but I'm just going into the actual front end. So I'm going to start the course. And once I start the course, I'm going to go through and just show you some of a very, very short course with a small amount of content, and then a few quiz questions at the end, which I'll hopefully get right. And then once I've done that, I'll then go back to the training matrix and also the training records and show you what's occurred as a result of me doing that. So I'm going to start the course now. And it obviously is giving me a little bit of information about the fact there'll be some questions and quizzes and so forth. So I'm just going to continue on. Okay, so in this case, this is similar to the example that Kim showed a little bit earlier on. So I can click on each of these items and tell me a bit more information. So in here, you might see videos, you might see, interactive content, a series of other things. So I can do that. And you can also make it so you can't move on until you've gone through each of these things. So I'm going to click on the next button. And I've got to the end of my content. So I'm not going to go through showing videos and all those things. We've just created a very, very, one slide content course there. So in this particular case, I'm going to go to start the quiz. So now it's going to test my knowledge. So it wants me to identify the emergency stop button, which I imagine is probably the one that is in the big red circle. And it now says, okay, when is it appropriate to use the horn? So it's going to be to alert others of your presence. I don't think it's going to be to say hello. That's one way of doing it. So I'm going to do that. So I got that one right, and I'll continue on. And when in driving mode, the platform cannot be adjusted, and that is true. So I've now finished the quiz. I'm going to click continue. It's now told me that I've got 100% score. So I've passed that. I can review the quiz and go back. And if I fail things, it can take me back and I can go back and do it again. So I finished the course and I'll click on the finish button, and now the course is completed. Now, what it's done here is it's also gone through and showing as completed, and I can, if I want to, download the course certificate. So if I click on download the course certificate, it downloads that, and then I can just open it up in a PDF reader. So as Angela, I've now completed that course. Now what it's done is a few other things in the background. So it's been going, so we've got all this content. You could have hundreds of these courses with the micro content. So if I jump back to my list of training records and just refresh my screen, what it's done in here is it's updated some information. So it's now got a completed date in here. Now, if I do this more than once, I'll have multiple versions, and that'll show up as version 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. Now, if I go back to my training management, which is the actual matrix itself, I can now go through and refresh this screen, and I'll filter on Angela again. And what you'll see is that, in fact, you can see it from here that she's actually completed if you look at the screen, but I just want to make it a little bit easier to read. So let me just go back to there. And you can now see that that's got the green dot next to it as well. So it's a scissor lift. The scissor lift induction has been completed in this particular case, and the matrix is shown accordingly. Now, if we'd set an expiry on this course, it would also obviously send that email out. Now, we can look at similar sorts of things by going into the training matrix as well. So we can do things like look at a gap analysis. So in this particular case, if I go and find Angela again, I can now go and have a look and see that she's, it was required that she did the scissor lift induction. She has completed it, but there's still a few more things that she needs to do. So this is keeping track of it in a more textual type way. If you don't want to look at the matrix itself, or if you want to just look at it in a different way. So in summary, what we've done is we've enrolled someone in a course. And we can enroll lots of people in a course. We've then gone through and as the user, we've completed the course. We've gone back and we've checked the training matrix and we can see the percent competency where people are at. So in fact, if I jump back into here again, go back to the compliance, turn on my competencies, we can see she's now got a higher level of compliance for the for her overall compliance of her for this particular person, for Angela. And again, back to there again. So as these things expire, the compliance percentage will change. Okay, so that provides a summary of an end-to-end process. So you can develop your own content, or you can engage someone like, an organization like Continuum that can then develop content for you with specific tailored courses and modified courses specifically for you. So there's quite a variety of options that you have available to you. Okay, thank you for my part of the course. Over to Sarah.
Thank you, Adrian. I did just put a link in there. It's a short video we did a couple of weeks ago that shows some of those training management matrix features. I would also, Adrian, just wondering about that gap analysis. Do you want to just show that briefly? I know it's not in the video that we made a few weeks ago, but it's pretty cool.
Yep, so this is what we looked at a few moments ago. So you can look at the gap analysis. Again, you can filter it by people if you wish to. You can export it out. You can essentially see what they are required to do, what they've completed, what's still outstanding. So, and again, you can add your columns like we did before in here as well, if you wish to. So it's just another way of looking at that same information. So you can either look at the gap analysis, or you can look at the training matrix itself. And it will remember the various different parameters there. So if I want to clear that out, I can go back to select all, and then I'm just looking at all of the different ones again, or I can filter by various different components of the system. So a very, very powerful way of being able to see what needs to be done, what hasn't been done, where you're sitting with your compliance, with your training. And if you're putting in a lot of courses, particularly the micro courses, it's a really good way of being able to manage those courses and being able to, I guess, see that verification of competency.
Okay, so I have just put another link in the chat. It's I think most of you will be aware of the HSC Academy and all the webinars we're doing. We're also introducing a new component, and that is a directory of courses. There's not a lot in there just now, but a lot of those expert presenters that we get to talk every Thursday, they've got their own master classes or various courses. We're also getting a few accreditations like myosh and myosh who are going to go up there, and all sorts of other courses. So it may be possible to even get hold of the SCORM content to put it in your own myoshLearn platform. There are a few questions. Just first, colors on the training matrix. So if you're color challenged, is there any way to change that?
We are introducing a feature to be able to, where you can enable, I can't remember the exact terminology, but basically it's saying where you've got color blindness or those sorts of issues, where it changes the colors to be able to allow someone with impaired vision to be able to see those colors more effectively. So rather than having red and green together, which can be a fatal combination for color blindness, they will show different shades which are more applicable. So that is coming, and it's coming fairly soon.
Okay, and the emails for enrolment setups, are they done through admin records?
That's correct. So our default, when we set up online learning, What we also do is we set up the email notifications that send out the notifications to the actual people themselves. So you'll actually notice in here that inside this record itself, which I didn't go into before, just to clarify this, there's an online learning component. Now inside there's also a launch link. So what happens is through the normal notification settings, which are in there, but we typically set this up for you on implementation of online learning, but you can set your own up as well. It will automatically email the person with that launch link, and all they have to do is click on that link. So that's done through the administration component of the system. But these are all columns, by the way, that you can add into your filters as well. So if you want to see all the passes and the fails and so forth, you can add these columns into this list and then filter by those things too. So there's a lot of information that can be gleaned from that top screen, but good question there. Those notifications are done through our normal notification processes.
Okay, can you put a link to your homepage in the chat as well? Because I did just at the very top, there is a link to your contact form, but I think we just want a link to your Continuum homepage as well. Hey, Adrian, if a person fails a course, is the charge going to be per each attempt?
Yes, unfortunately, when you're enrolled in a course, you then, I believe, actually, we'll just have to double check this, but I believe that is the case. We can probably come back to you on that. I believe it is the case when you do the course again, it's another enrollment, and then it will be a separate cost. Now, the way that you can overcome that is by structuring the course or having the course structured where if they do fail it, that they can continue going back through the content, cycling back through the content in the current course, and then completing the course properly. So then that way you wouldn't get that additional charge. So there are ways of avoiding multiple charges for a course that's been rather than have to do the same course multiple times.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand Heidi's question, but it says in relation to the TNA, we would need options for in training, partial supervision, etc. With the enrolment, could it be marked as pending instead of open? Having them all green looks like Angela has done all the required training.
The training records that you're seeing here can have different statuses. So you can set statuses for when a record is hasn't been completed yet. So there are options for status. The training matrix itself works on dates. So once a course, and you can set the dates to different things that show in the matrix, but that's a configuration option. We'd have to look at you would probably look at partial supervision and those sorts of options in the actual training records themselves.
Okay.
Actually, just adding to that a little bit more, we are also looking at the moment of extending the training matrix to be able to look at statuses and field options within the matrix as well. So that is an option that which would allow you to do exactly what you're requesting there. If you had a status or a field option within the training record that said that it was partial supervision or in training. So that is an option that we are currently looking at too.
Okay, so another question, since the training requirements are very well defined, why doesn't it use this data to create a list for the administrator to simply nominate what enrolments to issue? The enrolment process seems unnecessarily manual for now.
Yeah, and that's something that we're happy to work with customers that have that specific requirement. So there's a couple of different things you can look at there. One is you may not want everyone automatically enrolled in a course when they've changed occupations, because they may be in an occupation for a very short period of time. So there's a few things to take into account there. We've explored that, but we are happy to talk to customers and to organisations wanting to use this as to how they could auto-enroll people into courses as opposed to manually enrolling. And by the way, there are different ways of enrolling that I didn't show today. So for example, if this course expired and needed to be done again in whatever period of time, the system can be set up so it does automatically enroll them again into the course, so they don't have to be enrolled manually. The other aspect is because in the person record, it does identify what they need to do and which ones are training courses. We can set up auto-enrolling. It'll really just be a requirement where a customer needs that, which we'd then talk to you about and then work out the best way of doing that. So in this particular case, we looked at the manual enrolment, but auto-enrolment is on the cards and it's a relatively straight thing for us to do.
Okay, and another good question from Heidi. Can we group competencies? For example, training manual is made up of 5 competencies, but people complete training over a period of time, different dates, etc.
Yes, you can. So there are, one of the things I showed in the matrix itself is you do have the ability to actually, is to create and to filter by groups. So for each competency in the system in the back end here, in fact, if I jump to this one first, maybe, for each competency that we look at, you can set those competencies up with different groups. So there's a competency group, licenses and so forth, and you can call these things anything you like. So when you look at it in the training matrix itself and you turn on you display the groups will display at the top and will hold these things together at the same time. So you can group competencies together if you wish to.
Okay, well, there are no other, oh yes, there is, hold on. Karen asked, if I have 10 people on one course, can I do a bulk upload for all rather than individual entries?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're doing the enrollment, all you need to do is go into the admin and then go into the enrollments. So if I want to enroll multiple people, I could say I want to enroll multiple people into each of these. So I've now enrolled 3 people, and there are options for filtering by occupation and also by hierarchy. So you might want everyone on a site to do something. So then you can filter those and add those relatively easily as well. You can also bulk enroll through importing records into the training records section as well. So if I want to use the import functionality and import a series of training records that relate to online learning, that'll also bulk enroll people into those too. And that importing is a very straightforward sort of process.
Very good. Can we put people in groups and enroll in a group, e.g. supervisors?
That one I'm not sure about at the moment. We do have group functionality within the system. We'll take that as a feature request though. So I'd imagine that would also be relatively straightforward. It's something that we are considering.
Okay, before we just wind up, I just want to reiterate that Academy myosh training management page that's just in the chat there. There is a form, link on that form if you want to book a trial or a demo platform of this. So if you fill out that form, we'll get back to you quickly. And also just a reminder that if you want to speak to Kim about any custom course creations, it's Continuum Works, and that link is in there. And one more question. What do you foresee as the implementation time for a medium-sized business, and what support is provided by myosh to achieve the implementation?
Right, the training component, we have large number of modules, so we implement not just training, but we do instance inspections, audits, all sorts of different things. The training management modules are a relatively straightforward one to implement. So it doesn't take a great deal of time to implement. It will depend, as you mentioned, on the size of the organisation. So we do need to obviously import your people data along with their hierarchy data. And it will also depend, there's a few dependencies there. It will depend upon the number of people with access to the system and how many people need logins, those sorts of things. So an implementation could take from as little as a week or so right up to a few months, depending upon how complex, how much information you wanted in there, and also whether you needed integrations created, because we can integrate with your current HR systems or payroll systems to get the source data across. So an implementation will vary. We normally do requirements meetings where we find out what it is you're trying to achieve, and then we can give more accurate timeframes once we know all the moving parts, basically. So it can go from very short period of time, but it can also be extended out if there's more things that need to be done, like integration and so on.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you, Kim and Adrian, for joining us today, and everyone else for coming along. Remember, if you have any questions, email us, email support, or fill in that form on that page, and we'll get some information to you quickly. And the recording will be sent out probably early tomorrow. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Adrian. Bye.